Welcome back to Changing Austin. I'm Stacey Armijo, your host. Today's guest is someone I feel very lucky to get to call a friend here in Austin for a number of years, John Garrett. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. This is so fun.
It's a thrill to have you. So John and I have known each other, poor him, from back in my PR days.
Poor me. It was awesome to know you.
Oh, well, I loved my PR days.
We had lunches together, you remember? We got to hang out. Yeah, those were good days. Yeah.
I think we actually knew each other when you were at the Business Journal.
That's right.
And then you were beginning Community Impact. Yeah. And then, so I'm not going to steal your thunder.
Okay.
Tell our folks here, what are you famous for?
I have 3 girls. Okay. My wife and I started Community Impact, which has grown to be now the largest local news organization in Texas, from the Game Over House in Pflugerville. And so that's what we do. We do Community Impact. So if you get it in the mail or in your inbox, we got to start that thing and been able to steward it to pretty big growth. We're in about 40 communities around Texas, and we have about 200 impactors, we call them, and a great printing facility too, which is really a thing I'm really proud of, right off of 130 in Pflugerville.
I have had the joy of getting to see your print facility. It is an operation. That is impressive.
Really cool. Yeah.
And the folks who work there, tell me a little bit about the folks who work there.
It's really a great story because when this is 2016, we were thinking about building the plant because we were growing, and our current printer in Dallas we were kind of outgrowing them. So we started researching, well, why don't we just build our own plant? We had a headquarters out there in Pflugerville. We had extra land. And so we put, a pen to paper, and we were like, hey, we could just do this ourselves, we did good research. But the funniest part about the story is that I was in New York City looking at we bought these really amazing presses. They're basically modernized presses. But I was like, I was so scared to do it because it was a big investment, and I was really nervous. And I remember just praying. I was like, okay, make something big happen that would tell me I need to do this. And that weekend, while I was in New York, the statesman here in Austin announced that they were shutting their plant down.
Wow.
And even though we didn't use the statesman, they were one of a couple in the whole Southwest United States that we could use. Mm. And so for me, I was like, our printing isn't like something we outsource that doesn't matter, right? Like coffee, right. It's like our whole product. I was like, it didn't feel right to outsource that any longer. And so anyways, the funny story is that when you're buying printing equipment, these are giant machines. And so the printing equipment salespeople come, and they're good salespeople. And they have like YouTube videos, and they have like sparkly, shiny brochures, and all the employees on the brochures are really happy. And, on the video, there's only one guy running the whole machine. And, it's really good for sales. But the reality is that the people who run those machines are technicians, and they're artists. And to get all 4 colors of ink at those speeds with water and pressure and all that stuff, how it works, is truly a daily miracle. And what we didn't realize is when the Statesman decided to shut down, we had access to all those people. In fact, the Statesman came out with a job. They came to our groundbreaking for the printing plant. And the coolest part about it is that the Statesman shut their plant down, I think, in September of 2016. And they gave everyone 6 months severance. Mm-hmm. And we needed those people 6 months after. So wow. It was incredible time. You couldn't have lined it up better. And so those folks who still work at CI, got 6 months of vacation with their families, and they had a job. And
that's amazing.
And we didn't realize how important they were,
right.
when we were buying the equipment. So it really just all kind of worked out for us.
It feels like it was meant to be.
It was. And when we walk through those facilities today, I'm colorblind, which is really funny. Because I'm always joking with the guys hey, it needs a little more yellow. I don't even really know what that means. But the idea that if we greenfilled that plant, so we built it from dirt, and we did it in 10 months,
wow.
which is insane.
Wow.
Building the building, having the equipment all working, all the ink and water and air and all that stuff. But now when I walk through and all the machines are running, that's also a miracle when they're all running right. But when they're all running right, I just think, man, I cannot believe we pulled this off. Like I had no manufacturing background, and we did it as a team. And so I'm really proud of that facility.
So you have done the counterintuitive thing
Mhm.
at pretty much every
Yeah.
stage
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
your career.
Yeah.
And so, on this podcast, our audience is business owners, business executives, and it's really about sort of how has Austin changed up to now, and
Yeah.
what is important about changing for Austin's future. And so your paper has been a pretty big part of that. If I think of just the media landscape, not just in Austin, but in Texas. So talk a little bit about the counterintuitive choices you have made.
Oh man, I think there's something in me that's wired to fight the good fight.
Mm.
If it's a good fight, I want to fight in it. And I think I grew up in the industry. Before I started Community Impact, I worked at the Austin Business Journal, and I just knew something was missing. I knew people needed kind of their own publication that would tell them about all these things going on, and so it was just this desire to to kind of go after it. And so I think for me, those every risk that I've taken, it seems to be what has to be. Like there's something that has to be. Either you're fighting for protecting somebody whose rights are being not honored, or I'm a Christian, so like I like to go on mission trips and help other countries, and anything I can do to help, I think, the broader Big C church. I like to do that. So I think for me, I'm just kind of wired that way. And if I see something, somebody used to say that, like the news industry is like a hurricane. It's just like tearing through, and it still feels that way. And instead of us like running away, we're running right into the hurricane. We've launched 2 new papers in Texas this year. We've got 2 more planned coming soon. And so we're still going after it because we feel like, people need our information, and I think we package it in a way that's useful for everybody.
So one thing, I follow you on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I like seeing every now and then you post a picture of the one CI reporter sitting at the county commissioner meeting, or the city council, or the water board, or the whatever, and how it's like these are the places where decisions are being made that affect the lives of people.
Yeah.
And very often it's the CI reporter that's literally the only one in the room.
The way it has transformed since we started. So in 2005, when we started it, we there were other community papers around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't the only ones at the city council meetings. 20 years later, unless there's like a big controversy in these cities that we serve. I mean, Austin, the big cities have, there's a lot of reporters from different media in the big city. But like in Round Rock, which is a huge city, big budgets, lots of stuff, we're usually the only reporter that's there. And a lot of cities have gotten really good. Like Round Rock's an example. They have PIOs, and they have a full communications team, and they do a really good job. But having that independent person there that's like showing up to these late night meetings is something that we take a lot of pride in. And I think it's something that there's a lot of ways you can publish publications today. That to me is like part of the gold of CI in a way that's hard to explain, because you can write a lot about community businesses or some of the things that we do, but honoring our readers and showing up at those meetings as kind of their eyes and ears of what's going on, I think what allows us pathways into our readers' homes that other free publications wouldn't get. And I think we just take a lot of pride in that.
So to zoom out to your model a little bit, you're coming 20 years anniversary this year. Happy anniversary.
I know,
That's
it's
a big
amazing.
deal.
I can't believe it.
So 20 years ago, everyone was obsessed with the internet and online content. And the biggest problem most media outlets were trying to solve is, how can I get people to pay for my online content?
Yes.
And you decided to do a free print-only publication.
Yeah.
Why?
Math. I mean, to me, it's simple math. And our industry is the best in the world at follow the leader. Like somebody has an idea and they just follow them, and they'll follow them right off the cliff. And I can give you example after example of how they've done that. But if you look at the math, especially of our industry, The problem with our industry is that they have not, even those that have different models like the dailies, they have not invested enough in their print product. And I can talk about this forever, but it's math. It is where their money is. The New York Times today, which is the premier news organization maybe in the world in how to do digital transformation, 60% of their revenue still comes from their printed product.
Wow, really?
Yes. People are like so surprised. But it's math. The Dallas Morning News, for example, they're a publicly traded company. They do $120 million in total revenue. And I think something like 60 million of their revenue, maybe 70 million of the revenue comes from their printed product. And so to me, they get in a room and they think, hey, well, digital's coming. And that's true. It's here. But they forget how precious that print product is. And to not only to their business model. So for us, it was like, I didn't believe that we could build a subscriber-based digital product that would fund the journalism I wanted to do on its own. And so I knew it had to be advertising based, and I knew that we needed to have incredible distribution. So for me, it was like, okay, we're going to mail it. It's going to be printed, and advertisers are going to share the cost of it. But here's the key. You have to have content that people actually care about. And we have a competitive advantage over like the Statesman, because the Statesman's writing about all of Austin. Well, we're just writing about Round Rock. We're just writing about Cedar Park. So all of our content in the printed paper is usually something that people, if they live in those cities, that they would care about. And if they care about it, then they'll read it. If they read it, you can get advertisers, and then you can fund your journalism. So for me, it was always about math. It wasn't that I was very smart. It was just about math.
Well, one reason I ask is because the corollary for us is fee-free banking. So the question that you mentioned, follow the leader. I did not know the term fast follower until I got into banking. So because so a lot of my role that I'm responsible for a lot of our technology decisions and things like that. And so a lot of the folks in this industry will say, we want to be a fast follower on technology. And I'm like, a what? Because I'm coming from worlds where everybody wants to be an innovator, right? That everybody wants to be first. They want to do all those things. And it wasn't until I got to banking that I heard this term. And they said, oh, yeah, no, we need somebody else to go first.
To break it.
To find all the things that won't work, to break it, to go over all the regulatory hurdles. And then we'll follow the leader. I'm like, well, that's not actually a value proposition. Only a few other people offer the same thing we do. It's like a value proposition is something nobody else can deliver for whoever
I love that
your
you're saying
customer
that,
is.
because like it's very similar, because if you look at, I was always frustrated, and now Hearst has now bought everybody in Texas, but I was always frustrated with how these dailies worked, because they basically, similar to probably banks and other institutions or credit unions, they had kind of territories. And so Dallas had the Dallas territory, Houston Chronicle had the Houston Chronicle, and they were, even though they had different ownerships, they had respect for each other's boundaries, and they wouldn't go into each other's boundaries. Well, the New York Times comes along, right? And they don't care about any of these boundaries. And what's remarkable is the New York Times has more digital subscribers in Texas than all four of those publications combined.
Wow.
And because they didn't care about the boundaries, whereas, because everyone in our industry was kind of doing the same thing they've always done, they let an innovator come in and say, like, we're just going to take the whole state. And I think Texans would be kind of surprised by that. And I'm competitive, as you know, but I'm kind of excited, because now that Hearst, which, is a New York-based company, owns Texas, you got the New York Times that would say they own Texas, and then you have this little community impact that is actually Texan. Yeah. Born here as a company. And I think that we have a unique opportunity. But no, I agree with you. It's really fascinating to see how these, like, especially old industries, how they've learned to be resilient is by not being innovative. Right. And that's how, when somebody comes in like the New York Times that is innovative, you wake up one day and you're like, what just happened?
Well, and ultimately, it's when your calculus is, here's what the provider want. So like the bank version of this is, what I, the provider, want is to maximize what our industry calls non-interest income. So that's account service fees and other things like that. Well, they want to maximize that. And so as long as everybody is charging those fees, then we've conditioned consumers that this is just how this works. And then just everybody charges those fees because that's what they expect. And then somebody comes in and says, what if we just stopped?
So let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? So does the rest of the industry, because this was your deal, like I remember you put,
Yeah.
so does the rest of the industry hate you?
Yeah. So we are, I like to joke that, so we're a credit union, but we're a financial institution. A lot of credit unions make very big distinctions between banks and credit unions. And
right.
yes, there is a different ownership structure, but from the consumer perspective, it's really the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we tend to try to think of ourselves through the lens of our customer as opposed to the lens of our industry. And so I joke that not only do the banks hate us because we're a credit union, then the other credit unions sometimes feel a little uncomfortable with us because our business model makes it uncomfortable for everybody because there's a whole lot of justification around all these different fees. And so you'll find people say, oh, well, what we need to do, our CEO once heard somebody say, well, we just have to educate our customer about the value behind this fee. And he told me that he told this individual, well, that's great because your margin is my opportunity.
Yeah.
Because
That's right.
we are a community service organization. We say we make money to give it away, but also we are very competitive.
Yeah, that's really
And so
great.
it's like when you know you have a good reason for why you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
and then you can go and prioritize the interest of your customers. And that, in my mind, that's our job to make the business model work for the customer's best interests. And I'm going to grow if I do that, but I've got to be willing to give up something in the short term. Like
Right.
in our case, it was the fees that we chose to give up with the promise of growth on the other side. But if nobody's willing to take that risk, then we sit here in a static pool of competitors, and it's not that interesting.
I love that. And I think that's where I love what your boss said is that the margin is the opportunity. And I think in any innovators that are out there that might be listening, like that's what I thought about. Like when we started CI, there were community papers.
Sure.
But their model was totally different. And what they wrote about was totally different. And I was like, well, there's this company called Google, and they make all their money in ads. Like, why do I need to have reader revenue? Why do I need subscribers? Why don't I do what they're doing and just build the business on advertising? And they've done pretty well. And so like,
okay.
but I think most, and it's interesting. Like I'll go talk at industry events, and you might do the same. And a lot of them don't like me. And they use words like, "Hey, we're at the end of the runway, so we need to make sure that we transform in this way and that way." And I'm like, no. When you're at the end of the runway, that's when you take off. Like let's go.
You don't slow down.
You don't
to try to get there
like you're
slower.
Gonna fall off the runway. It's just a different perspective. And so that I definitely resonate with what you're saying.
So 20 years of community impact. Texas' largest media organization, which is a huge headline.
Local news company. We
Sure.
gotta qualify it to
All
be
right.
fair.
Local news company.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I know you have changed the structure of your organization and the leadership in your organization in recent years. Yeah. So yourself as an executive, you and Jennifer as founders and as executives, how are you navigating the story of your business?
It is. That's a great question. Like it is one of the most challenging things I've ever done. So we have a president, Kelly Outlaw, who's doing a great job. And so she and I are now, luckily I have a lot of really smart friends. And one of the things that one of my friends, his name is Jeff Davidson, he and his wife founded Camp Gladiator here in Austin.
Oh, cool.
One of the things that he recommended that she and I do is to do a percentage of buckets, which is like president role, mentor role, partner role. And what is a perfect percentage of where Kelly does 70% as, for example, 70% as president. She wants 15% from me as a mentor.
Okay.
And then 15% as a partner, like I'm actually getting in the work with her.
Wow.
And so that's new language that she and I have been using. But as a founder, when your heart is into every page and every feeling that every single impactor feels like how they feel is so important to you, it's hard to kind of pull back a little bit. So I'm still like in that, but I'm a part of some really great organizations. I'm a part of a C12 group, which is here in Austin, which has got some great leaders that you know who they were, that are really great Austin founders, but also Austin business people. And then I'm part of another group called Tugboat, which I think I've shared with you before, but it's a national organization of companies who are trying to build evergreen companies.
Oh, yeah.
100-year plus companies.
Bobby Jenkins.
Yes, that's right. Bobby's in there
yes.
with me.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
Connie Reed from Consuela Handbags here in
cool.
Austin. Some really cool people. Amy Simmons from
Yeah.
Amy's Ice Cream. So some really great people. Scott Click, I got to say his name in case he's watching, from Tomlinson's, another great Austin brand. But so I'm in the process of learning Like this is a new thing for me. Jennifer and I, we joke because we're, we married now 26 years. She and I are going through some counseling together. It's been really healthy, but like one of these things is this word wheel, and there's this thing about control. And so Jennifer's always like, I think you're trying to control this situation, So I don't think spouses should use that stuff against you, but that'll be another session for us. But I think it's been really healthy for me to kind of see that and see it at work, where you have a new person that's going to come in and lead a little differently than you, and giving them the space to do it. And we've seen it, and we've seen Austin institutions do it well, transition well, and we've seen some transition not so well. You guys have transitioned really well. There are other organizations that have had a harder time with that, and so I'm grateful. I have a lot of friends around me, and I'm just trying not to mess it up, to be honest. But I'm still really involved with the business. And I've had like little tenure. I ran the printing plant for about 6 months for fun. About 2 years ago, I was up in Dallas. We had a leadership change up there, so I was up in Dallas for about 6 months. So I was over on the digital side. We're doing some transformation, cool stuff over there. So I've been like working, but it's a little bit different in this role.
Well, it seems like your business is always doing something new in a new direction.
Yeah.
There's never been a time where you and I have run into each other and it's been like, oh yeah, things are fine. Yeah. It's good. It's always like, here's this thing we're doing. And here's that thing we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for right now, I actually do really like where we are on a product standpoint. We have the print product that's still doing really well. We have a daily email product that's unbelievable. And we mail 250,000 emails a day to Texans. And it's a unique product because it's all hyper-local about your neighborhood. And that's really kind of fun to see how that's been growing, and we're building that up. And but our real goal right now is to take kind of those core products to markets and to grow pace, to have pace growth. We don't want to but we have new markets that we're getting online now, and we have some coming up. And so if we can take our core products and grow in a meaningful but paced way, then I think we're going to wake up in 10 years and we're going to be like, this is amazing, and we get to hand it over to our kids, and they get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. I'm just kidding, but like that's right. That's right. It's fine. It's fine. But it's been really fun. I think that's what we see.
Well, and so you're in a role that can feel overwhelming, and I know a lot of folks who when you're the last name on the list of the buck stops with you, that can be exciting, and it can also be incredibly stressful. And so you're at 20 years of being in that role now. How do you manage that kind of pressure?
It is something you just have to, for me, realize that you're ultimately you're the only one that understands the full weight. Even Jennifer, who's very involved in the business, she doesn't always understand all the dynamics, all the things that are kind of making everything go. And even Kelly, who's just learning. She's still learning about our processes and how the business works. But look, I don't hide this one bit, but I'm so grateful I'm a Christian, because for me, like when I hear that phrase, like it's lonely at the top, I don't feel like I'm ever alone. Like I feel like I can pray and I can cry. I feel like I can do that with somebody who does understand. For me, it's Jesus, but like that's for me how I really cope with it, because you can't expect everyone to feel or understand everything that you feel. And that's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur, is that ultimately you feel things and weight of things that others don't understand. And if you talk to people who retire well or who sell their business, they'll tell you that you don't understand as an entrepreneur the weight of what you're carrying until that weight is gone.
Until it's been shifted and you realize.
And then you're like, wow, like I was carrying a lot of weight. So I think for me, that's how I manage and how I cope. And I also, friends matter. And having friends that are also entrepreneurs that are vulnerable, that aren't like, sometimes I get on X and I feel like I'm the biggest loser, or LinkedIn, right? You get on LinkedIn, everything's like really great and rosy. And you feel like, man, I just must suck as a business owner, because this is really hard. But being around other people that you can be honest with and they'll be honest with you, then you feel like you're not crazy. My friend Brent Beshore, he's in private equity in Columbia, Missouri. he has this great phrase, and he says, his phrase is, all businesses are loosely functioning disasters that sometimes make money. And I just love that so much as an entrepreneur, because you're like, yes, my business is a loosely functioning disaster, and sometimes we make money. And it's like, it's just a perfect saying. So that phrase also kind of helps me resonate. Okay, this is gonna be okay. Like,
I appreciate
everyone's dealing with this.
the confidence, right?
Yes,
Where you're like, oh, good.
Yes.
Nobody else has it figured out either.
It's right. That's 100% right.
We all think we do,
That's
but
right.
no. Everybody thinks that they're
All
the only
of
one
them.
leaving that meeting like, oh, I wish we were that put together.
Google is, if you think about it, Google is a loosely functioning disaster. I mean,
Sure.
and you see it sometimes when it comes
course.
out publicly, but it's kind of it makes you feel better as an entrepreneur.
I know when I was in consulting, Vistage was
Yeah.
sort of that for me.
Yeah.
Where it was like showing up to people in the version of the group that I was in. It was other people who had roles similar to mine, and it was the one place that I could go and just be like, oh, let me tell you about this thing. And it was like people that could get your shorthand, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I'm crazy,
Yeah.
but also other people are just as crazy as me.
That's 100% how I feel. Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Okay, so you guys are very involved in the community. You guys being community impact, also you and Jennifer. As you think about the choices you have made around where do you get yourself involved in the broader community, and even maybe sometimes you have been tempted or invited and chosen not to. How do you think about how you apply yourself there?
Yeah. Great question. I think, a few years ago, I was in everything. I was on the Austin Chamber Board. I was the chairman of the Round Rock Chamber. I was president of the Round Rock Area Serving Center. I was every board possible I could be in. And I was like, this is too much. Like, I'm sucking at all of them. And so then I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to let these terms kind of way down and phase out. And now I'm back to like, okay, I probably need to get more involved. So right now, I mean, I'm kind of a free agent, and I don't want to say that to be.
I was going to say, I'm on several boards.
But as I think through, as I think through like what is meaningful to me, I think, obviously we've always, CI in terms of like what we support as a company, we've always focused on the basic needs. So we really try to focus on clothing. How do we help people like have the basic things that they need? And so when we across the state, when we have 40 publications, all those are run, they all have different leaders and they're all involved in different communities. We're just saying, hey, like, can you kind of focus on when you choose what to focus on those things. So that's been helpful as an organization to kind of define what you want to go after. I definitely would recommend that as opposed to like going after all these different things. But personally, I think it's time for me to get a little bit more involved. And I think Kelly's role will allow me, because I was traveling a lot more than I'm going to be traveling today. And so hopefully I'll be able to step up and serve the community in a new way.
I have some ideas for you. We could talk about that over a cocktail.
Sure, that sounds good.
Speaking of cocktails, it's just one of my favorite topics because I think they're fun. What's your favorite cocktail?
I mean, bourbon neat. Like, that's it. I mean, I could do old fashioned. I like old fashioned. Manhattan's gonna be a little crazy. Give me a Manhattan, I might be asking to go to a karaoke bar or something. So I don't know. It's a vermouth. I don't know what it is, but for me, it's a bourbon neat.
Okay, we could drink together then.
Yeah, okay.
I will not go down my bourbon nerd trail on this podcast.
We could do it
maybe
together.
another time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I have a level like Woodford and above is kind of my
for sure
base. But sorry, we're getting off topic.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
bringing it back around.
Yeah.
So I have a question I like to ask everybody that comes on the podcast, which is if you look back at Austin over the last, say, 25 years. What is the thing that you think has made it so strong and positive? Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, as you look forward, what are you most excited about for Austin's future?
Yeah, I mean, I think Austin gets a little bit of a bad rap about like this whole NIMBY thing. I've never, I grew up here. I went to high school at Pflugerville. Jennifer was born here. So we've seen Austin grow, and I have never felt like the growth has been a bad thing. I mean, I loved all the debates. I loved the environmental debates that were like, you can't develop anywhere. And then I loved the debates about like, whoa, that's too much development. I've loved how the community has functioned, generally speaking. And how do I say that? Like, this is like really important, is being content and joyful in what you have is so important right now, because the reason my business is prospering is because of the climate that Austin is today. And so even though I grew up here and I was, we're here near Palmer Lane, like I played baseball balconies right across the street, this thing is like home to me. And this building that we're in was never here. but it's allowed us to do kind of neat things that we would never get to do without the growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, as somebody who I feel, I've been here since I was 5. I feel like I should be able to speak to that and say like growth has been good, and have we done it all perfect? No, but like it's given us all these opportunities that we would not have had. And look, our kids, like my kids are going to have opportunities that if it wasn't for people taking risks and trying to do great things and trying to make Austin a world-class town, then those opportunities wouldn't be there. So that's my kind of take on that whole thing. Mm-hmm. In terms of what I'm excited about, I'll tell you a turning moment for me was like a few weeks after kind of the pandemic had cleared and you could like hang out together in like bars and stuff. Mm-hmm. I was invited to this group. I knew a couple of people in this group, but I was invited to this group of entrepreneurs from Austin that were meeting in downtown Austin. And I remember driving down. I hadn't been to downtown Austin since, you remember we didn't go.
Yeah, we didn't go anywhere.
I was like, wow, they actually were building stuff. I was like, I didn't even recognize the city. And so we go to this bar, and I'll never forget it. There's all these people. There were probably 150 men and women entrepreneurs in this room. And I've been involved in the chamber. I know all the people that were making the things happen in the room where it happened or whatever. None of those people were in this room. And it was all a bunch of really smart new people. And I remember thinking Austin has changed.
Wow.
And I think the people that are in power might not like some of the new people coming along. And I know some of the new people have not really loved Austin as much as we do, but overall, like those new ideas are gonna be so good for our county and our city and our area. And so I'm excited to see what all the new ideas. I can't tell you how many people from California that I've gotten to know that are business people that think so differently in a I think a positive way, mm-hmm. that are building big, they have big ideas.
Yeah.
And they're doing really cool things. And I can't wait to see kind of how that all plays out in this ecosystem. So count me in as one of the people that's like, let's go, let's see what happens. And let's keep growing.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.